open up and introduce that Supervisor Lori Parlin is here. So thank you for coming. And we're going to start our evening with an operational update with Peter English with California Interagency Incident Management Team 5.
Good evening, folks. Pete English, Incident Management Team 5. Well, today we were kind of lucky with the inversion and the smoke layer sent in for most of the day. We didn't really see that extreme fire behavior we had yesterday. We did have continued growth in Branch 5, as well, or not Branch 5, correction, Branch 10 and Branch 20. And in Branch 5, things have been holding really good. I can speak a lot from Branch 20 down here in this area. We were able to get into Volcanoville and start mopping up around structures and start doing a lot of looking around where we can start connecting some dots and getting some line in place. And then out here to the east was a lot of scouting today from both Branch 10 and Branch 20. As most of you know, this is big country out here and a lot of steep drainages. And in Branch 5 over here in Forest Hill, they've been able to do some mop up and start getting some more lines in. That's in the report.
I did forget to mention I will have questions at the end, I promise. I will hold questions for not just you guys, but those people online too. So nobody's leaving after they present. I'm going to make them stay until we get some questions answered. All right? Thank you, Pete. Our next presenter is going to be our fire behavior analyst, Rob Scott. He's going to give us a little idea of what kind of the behavior is of the fire and what the prediction is.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I talked on this, so I got to get this right. How's that? Can you hear me okay? Fantastic. Again, my name is Robert Scott. I'm a fire behavior analyst and a long-term analyst. I predict how the fire is going to move on the landscape and help firefighters and the public understand how the fire is burning out there. So I'm going to start at yesterday at about 12 o'clock. The fire was at about 8,000 acres down in the Oxbow area, a little bit behind Forest Hill, and it was a big day. That day was relative humidities of 15%, temperatures of 95 degrees, winds of 6 miles an hour. And we saw what that resulted in. That resulted in about 21,000 acres of growth. That growth occurred mostly in the, got to get my geographic areas together here. It occurred mostly in the El Dorado Creek drainage, the North Fork of the American River, and it moved up the Rubicon River and Pilot Creek below Volcanoville. There also was movement below Forest Hill, down the North Fork of the American River towards Todd Valley. So that brings us to today. Today was a little bit different. The weather today, temperature 20 degrees, relative humidity 20 degrees, temperature 88 degrees, winds 0 to 3 miles an hour. And so what does that mean for today? No large fire growth, no giant column, no picture on Facebook at the end of the day, look like a volcano going off. That's a good day considering what we've been seeing. Now let's talk about what the future looks like. You're going to continue to see slope runs from the fire in places where it's set up, El Dorado Creek, down here in Volcanoville in the Rubicon River drainage. The key factor here is what's going to happen with the wind and what's going to happen with the smoke. If the smoke stays over the fire's capped, we'll continue to see the fire behavior of the CTD. I think it's popping up just a little bit right now, but nothing like the growth we've seen. And so if we can make it through the next couple days, I think it'll be better. I'll be available for questions after. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. My next presenters are going to be our agency administrators. We have Jeff Marcellet, Forest Supervisor with the El Dorado National Forest, and Mike Blankenheim, Unit Chief with CAL FIRE.
All right, so good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Blankenheim, and I'm the Unit Chief for the CAL FIRE Amador El Dorado unit, so responsible for all the CAL FIRE operations here in El Dorado County. So I'll start off real quick. I'm just to explain a little bit about how we organize the incident and what Unified Command is and why we're in Unified Command, and kind of set the stage for talking about how we get to the next step here. So the reason there's two agencies up here, CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service. We both have wildland firefighting responsibilities in different parts of the state of California. Our lands are intermixed throughout the state. So they have their firefighting resources, we have our firefighting resources, they have their jurisdictional areas, we have ours. Where it starts to get a little more complicated and complex is those lands are intermixed all over the state of California. So we are in a situation where we work together on a day-to-day basis in the wildland firefighting arena. And this is no different on the mosquito fire that we're working on right now. This fire did start on the Tahoe National Forest in Placer County. I think it was Tuesday evening about 6:30 or somewhere in that neighborhood on U.S. Forest Service responsibility area. Quickly spread into an area that was state responsibility also in the Placer County area. So within probably an hour or 45 minutes of the incident starting, the two agencies were in unified command together, CAL FIRE, Nevada Yuba Placer Unit, and the Tahoe National Forest. So with that came an incident response from both agencies, from the forest and from the CAL FIRE resources in the Nevada Yuba Placer Unit. The initial attack was not successful. I think we all know that. That's kind of why we're here right now. So within an hour or two, within a couple hours of that start, there was a fairly sizable augmentation of resources that included a whole bunch of ground resources out of El Dorado County, the CAL FIRE resources out of El Dorado County. There were local government resources assigned from different parts of the region, all assigned there that night. So we've been in unified command with the two agencies from the get-go. Something else we do as the incident expands and starts to impact more than just fire, it starts impacting infrastructure and communities and all those kind of things, which this did fairly quickly out of the gate. We also we bring the law enforcement agencies into that command process because they have every bit of a responsibility for protection of the citizens, evacuations, and all of those kind of things. So from the get-go, we've been in unified command with the law enforcement agencies and with the U.S. Forest Service on this fire from the get-go. So there's already a question came up today kind of about the map and some of the incident organization, so I'll explain that a little bit here real quick. So in a nutshell, the letters that you see on the map up here are just a simple way for the firefighters to kind of delineate areas of responsibility on the map. So we start with branches, which are big, large geographical areas, and we'll see those on here by the Roman numerals. Branch 10 is all the stuff right now south of the American River, so all the stuff in El Dorado County. And right now we have Division T, Division R, and Division Y, all in El Dorado County. So one branch director and 3 division group supervisors, which is the line leadership out there. Underneath each one of those divisions is a whole bunch of ground resources, fire engines, crews, bulldozers, all those kind of things. So just a little orientation to the map there and a little explanation on the organization you see there. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Marshallay, my partner from the U.S. Forest Service on the El Dorado National Forest, and I, of course, will be around all evening for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. So good evening, everyone. Glad to be here and glad to be available to answer questions. I know there's probably many, but I'm going to touch on a couple of things and transport you back to Caldor Fire 1 year ago. We obviously in this county are not strangers to wildfire. It's happened not just the last 2 years, but for a long period of time. And as you know, your county residents, there's some really rough ground. So when you have rough ground and you have high temperatures and you have weather conditions like we've had in the state setting all-time records, we have recipes for real dangerous fire growth conditions, and that's what happened. So Tahoe National Forest, NEU, CAL FIRE initial attacked it. We rushed in with additional resources from Amador El Dorado Ranger Unit, Forest Service El Dorado, but we didn't catch it there. We also, in the same period of time, have to start to stand up a command and general staff organization because you got to feed firefighters. You got to have places for them to bed down. You have to have organizational capacity to replace those resources if they have issues with health or vehicles or they're timing out for their available shift duration. So we were able to successfully bring in the SAC regional team, which is a conglomerate of a number of different fire agencies that stood up behind the operational staff and started building plans around locations for an incident command base, building an incident action plan, the plan for the next day. And we were very fortunate that we were able to activate quickly. You might be asking, why do we have an incident command base down in Roseville? What is that about? Well, you know the geography, there's no simple way to get across this fire, right? And actually, if you do the math, the Google math, Roseville to this side, Roseville to Forest Hill, it's actually a pretty even split, quite frankly, but it's not ideal, and we're working on that as well. But more importantly, it's got facilities that can sleep firefighters in quiet, safe spaces with air conditioning when we're in the worst heat index we've seen in the state in a long, long time, right? So you have to think about all those things. And we were lucky that the SAC regional team went right after it. And more importantly, lessons learned from the Caldor fire, we acted quickly to bring in a Type 1 incident command team. And so we're going to let you meet the incident commander and some of the other staff this evening, ask them questions, but they activated quickly. We in-briefed them yesterday at noon. They took command of the fire at 1800, and they've been in command building the bigger logistics to manage all the firefighters who are surging into this fire now. Probably close to 2,000, I guess, is what we're heading for. That took us, several weeks on Caldor fire just because there were no firefighters available anywhere in the system, both state and federally, given the conditions we were in. Well, we're moving resources in well here. I just want to say that this county also endeavored post-Caldor fire to take on the lessons learned, the hard lessons learned. There's been some really incredible improvements that have happened, like the Office of Wildfire Resilience that the county has stood up, and a number of other improvements, and you're seeing them those fruits come to bear in the way that we're attacking this fire as well. So I just want to say that there is true partnership. There was on Caldor, there has been in this county for a long, long time. Chief Cordero and the local government resources from Georgetown all the way to Amador, we've got one of the best, most resilient fire systems in anywhere in the state or in the world. It wasn't enough to catch this on the initial attack, and we're bringing it full resources to bear on this incident. So I'm going to be around this evening to answer anything I missed that you want to hear from either Chief Blankenheimer or myself. Will be around.
Thank you both. Our next presenter is going to be Sheriff DiAgostino with the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. And he'll have Alex Sorori with him also.
As long as it ends in a vowel, we're okay. Okay. I have our PIO Alex Sorori up here, Sergeant Sorori. He's going to talk to you about the statistics and our map and the evacuation and stuff. And then I just want to talk to you real briefly after he's done about my experience in coming from back in the King Fire, to the Trailhead, the Sand, the Caldor, and I'm pretty sure I know what a lot of you are feeling and thinking, going through it with you in the past, and then standing up before you in the past as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Alex real quick.
Thanks, Sheriff. Hi, I'm Alexander Sorori. I'm the Public Information Officer for El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. I'll start off with the map, actually. So over here, if you see, we have a map of the county, or a portion of it. This is the northern portion of El Dorado County. So up on the top, you may not be able to read it from where you are, but Volcanoville is kind of the top here. Anything you see in red is going to be evacuation orders, and then anything in yellow is going to be evacuation warning. So Volcanoville, Quintet, and Georgetown, kind of in that area, is all evacuation order at this point, and then all of this yellow, to include Cool, Garden Valley, Swansboro, and East Stumpy Meadows, is going to be evacuation warnings. The difference between an order and a warning, warnings are going to be our recommendation for people to start thinking about, or maybe even actually start evacuating, and orders are going to be something more urgent. We recommend that you leave because services may not be available to you if you choose to stay. Couple statistics here. So for staffing, as far as what's being staffed out at the fire, we have a total of 38 officers in a 24-hour period. So from our end, we're going to have 4 sergeants and about 17 deputies, and then we have mutual aid coming up on a daily basis, and that's about 17 officers. So far, we've made 3 arrests in the last 24 hours in the evacuation zone. If you need any more information regarding evacs, you can visit edcgov.us. If you have any questions about receiving evacuation notices on your phone, you can visit ready.edso.org, and that has to do with phone notifications. Currently, as far as shelters goes, we have two shelter designations. One's going to be for humans and one's for animals. So for human shelters, we have two set up. One is in Cameron Park. It's at the CSD. And then the other one just opened. It's at Green Valley Church. And if you need addresses for that, let me know, and I'll get that to you after this. As far as animal shelters goes, we have Diamond Springs Animal Shelter, and then we have the Murrieta Equine Center, and then Flying M Ranch. Also, if you need addresses for those, let me know and I can get it to you afterwards. So far, we have 0 injuries or deaths reported to us, which is good. And that's all I have in a report.
All right, thanks, Alex. So what I want to talk about is how many, by show of hands, how many folks in here are in mandatory evacuation? So quite a few. And how many are in warning and are getting ready and everything else? Okay, so I can tell you right now, you're just in the information gathering stage. You're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. In a day or two, you're going to start the frustration phase, and you're going to want to go home. And then you're going to get the anger phase, and you're going to be really pissed because you can't go home. And then finally, we'll get over it, and then, oh, I get to go home. I'm just telling you that because that's what's going to happen. You're going to start calling our office, you're going to start asking around, you're going to start hitting social media. When can I go home? I need to go home. I need to do this. I need to do that. Folks, we want you to go home too. My deputies want to go home. They're working around the clock. We understand that. It is what it is. All the apparatus that was talked about earlier, the engines, the dozers. I spent all day yesterday up in your neighborhoods in Volcanoville, Quintet, Baldwin, all around up there, driving around pretty much all day long. And it's tough to get around. And when they need to get to something, maybe your house, quickly, because something sparked up next to it, if we're in that area, you're in that area, it takes them that extra time to get there. So it's safer, it's quicker, it's more efficient when we're not in those areas when these operations are going on. And then as soon as we can, as soon as all the heads, talking heads get together and they say, all right, let's get these folks back home, as soon as it's safe to do so, we absolutely will. I can tell you that he talked about the 3 arrests. These were folks that were in your communities to do harm. They were looting, trying to steal stuff. They're in our hotel. They're being fed well, but they're in our hotel. So if we're up there, we're protecting your neighborhood, we're protecting what's yours. We understand that. That's our job, and I think we do a pretty darn good job of it, along with our partners. He mentioned mutual aid. We have Folsom PD, we have Placerville PD, we have, I think, SAC. I saw a lot of other patches up there yesterday, and there were more today. So when we pulled that big red handle and asked for help, everybody comes. So we're in pretty good shape. But I just ask you that for your patience, we can all work through this and get through it. When you start getting to that frustration phase and that anger phase, maybe kind of check it a little bit and say, okay, we'll get there. So, all right, thank you. And I'll be around for questions later too.
Thank you both, I appreciate it. My final presenters are going to be Incident Commander Young with California Interagency Team 5 and Dusty Martin with CAL FIRE.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Dusty Martin. I'm one of the Unified Incident Commanders that signed to this incident. This is my partner, Rick Young, with Team 5. So about this structure, we talked about Unified Command as our agency administrators talked. Rick and I are side by side all day, working, helping to manage this and walk through this long process that it's going to be. A couple of things I want you to know. Our number 1 priority, life. Our number 2 priority is property. That is what we've set out to all the troops going out on the fire line, that those are our top 2 priorities. As the sheriff talked, we do not take it lightly that we have put evacuation orders in and that folks are out of their homes. But part of that is going back to our number one priority is life. One, for the public, and two, for our firefighter safety. We are going to do everything we can to get you to return back to your homes as soon as safe and possible to do so. We talk about it multiple times a day. We're working with both sheriff's agencies. We're working with our fire ground officers that are on the ground, looking at what it is. A couple of things that go along with that process to get back into your homes is we have to work with our utility partners. We have to work with the roads and everybody else to make sure it's safe to do so to get you in. We are having multiple discussions about that every day, so please understand that we are working hard to do that. Part of that is mitigating the emergency that we have out in front of us. Today was a good day for us out on that fire line. As our F-band talked about with the smoke layer over top of it, that has moderated our fire behavior today. However, as you look at this map, you see that it's all red. So what that means is there's zero containment. Yes, our folks are out there and they've been in one heck of a firefight for the last couple of days. As we start getting areas to where we feel confident that the fire is not going to move past its cold line there, you'll see this map to start to turn and you'll start seeing black in places that are red. That's when you'll start seeing the containment numbers go up on our incident updates and that. That means that we are starting to make some good progress. For your area here, just know our folks are really, our primary line is that Volcanoville Road, and they are working really hard to establish that. It has crossed over a couple places, and they've gone after to go pick that up. But that is our priority, to take it there, and then we're going to start working around and start hitting to the north till we get into the river drainage. The folks on the north side are also coming right back down, and we're going to tie back together in there. As our F-band talked, we have to make sure we have our weather and everything in line for us to do that. As we put firefighters in these steep canyons, that is a huge risk that they are taking because it's not an easy way to get out of there. As you all know from being in the area, the American River is very unforgiving country for our folks. We do have folks in there. We've got mitigations in there. We've got night flying hoist rescue ships to be able to get our folks out of there if needed. We have to have those mitigations in there before we put all of our folks at deep risk in there, especially with the wind changes that are coming. As we go through this, Rick and I do not take it lightly. The impacts that you have all had over the last couple of years, and especially the Caldor. I spent a very long time on the Caldor with my partners here, had 48 days that I was on there, so I lived that incident with each and every one of you. We understand the impacts that are continuing to happen, and we do not take that lightly. Rick and I are on a constant basis of communicating across both agencies. Our other partners in the Nevada Yuba Placer, we have Incident Commander Jim Hudson from there. We are together and we are constantly communicating, and we are trying to get as much information out to you all as we can. On the top of your incident update sheet, you'll see all the social media platforms right on the front page. That's how we're going to continue to push that message out. We have our PIO staff that are all working together in one trailer to get that information out as fast as we can and get in there. Please understand, we do have our other social media platforms out there that are member platforms that people will post in there. Right? Some of that information, like watch duty, is really good information. But understand, it is also member. The official information coming out will come onto those social media platforms, and that will be the official information from our incident. So you can get some good information from those sites, but just understand that it is member put in there. So for us, we want to make sure that you get accurate and timely information. Some of that we have to vet out and make sure that it is accurate before we push it out to you. So if you're wondering why you're seeing some things on social media that have an acreage and we're reporting a different acreage, that's because we're making sure that the information is accurate before we send it out. Some folks will report what they hear on scanner and that. We have to make sure that's vetted out before we get it to you. But please, we'll be here for questions. I'm going to turn over to Rick, and thank you all for coming tonight.
Thanks, Chief. So I just want to say, because I know we want to get to the questions, I recognize the fear and uncertainty that can consume a community when events like this occur. And you give the recent history here, it's probably even more amplified in this room. I want to make it very clear, our intent and direction to the troops is to implement a very aggressive, full suppression strategy to minimize the silence of this fire as quickly as possible and get you all back in your homes. That is our direction to the troops. That's what we're going to continue to do. Unified Command allows us to leverage our relationship and get more resources. And as long as we keep them in, we're going to get them employed and do just that. So I want to thank you guys for your time coming in here today, getting information directly from the team. We will do our best to get you back in your homes as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you both, I appreciate it. So this is the point where we get to do questions, and I do questions a little different than some people. I'm going to divide directly down the line. This side is going to be A, this side will be B. I'm going to take 3 questions from side A, then I'm going to go to side B, and then I'm going to see if there's any online that we need to do, and I'll go back to A and B, and we'll go through until we either get everybody's questions or until we run out of time. I'm going to give us till 7:30, but like I said, nobody's leaving, so even after we're up, if you have direct questions, we can have those answered. My partner, Nathan Judy over here, is going to walk around. Unfortunately, we do not have 2 mics, so I'm going to have to ask that you raise your hand. Nathan will get to you. Try to speak in your big person voice. If not, Nathan will repeat it for me, and then I'm going to repeat it on here the best I can to make sure I heard you right, and then that way those on the internet is also hearing the question too. So let's start over here, one in the back.
Oh, hi, I'm Jason. Just a question about the weather's supposed to change tomorrow. It's supposed to start cooling off, and wind directions, I believe, are going to be more westerly. So just as a community, what can we expect from the south side of the fire as far as fire direction? Is there a chance that it could be, because somebody mentioned the change in direction, going to change fire behavior? Do you have any update of that for the gentleman?
So the question, I just want to make sure I'm going to say it out. The question is, tomorrow the weather's changing and we're expecting a wind direction change, so what can we expect on the south side of the fire for tomorrow? All right, I believe that's your question, sir. I'm not going to try to answer.
And thank you, Jason. Excellent question. All right, generally on these incidents, there is an incident meteorologist that's been trained by the National Weather Service and qualified to come out with this. I would work closely with that individual. Unfortunately, that individual was not able to make it. And so the information I'm going to give you is freely available on the National Weather Service website. And so for the next several days, at nighttime, you're going to see gentle east winds coming down from this direction. So from the top of the mountain down this way. Those winds will be 3 to 4 miles an hour, about 6 feet above my head, but down at the, flame height, right where my belt buckle is, they may be 1. Enough to gently push the fire along, but nothing like we've seen before. During the daytime, we're going to see generally west or southwest winds, the common wind that we normally see. As a matter of fact, this run right here was under a southwest wind. This run was more of a slope-driven run. So, what does that mean for Volcanoville and the areas along the south side of the fire? The winds are going to be in favor of pushing the fire away from that area and going to be in favor of firefighter efforts to suppress and put in containment lines. Does that get your question, Jason? Excellent.
Thank you, Rob. Any more on this side? One in the back?
Yeah, my name's Jim. The dozer trail that they started at the firehouse 63 on the other side of Volcano Road, is that for equipment to get in, or is that just a more like a fire break?
So the dozer line at Firehouse 63, is that for equipment to get in, or is that a fire break?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Pete. I was looking for you over there, sorry.
So initially they tried to use that as a control line, and it didn't work. So that's when they backed off to Volcanoville Road and are now holding it along Volcanoville Road.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they backed off.
Yes, they did. With the pushes they had yesterday, is what they were doing when the fire made those big pushes and pulses up. They would pull out for a second, let the fire do its thing, come back in and try and pick up the pieces and bring it back along and start putting the fire out.
Okay. Thank you.
You good? Okay.
Thank you. And you had a question?
Yeah, I had one other question. Dealing with propane tanks, so let's say the fire does get to you, the propane tank, we were hearing that in Volcanoville they were exploding. That, what do? Do you turn it off to your house? Is there anything that you can do to safely?
So the question is, in regards to propane tanks, what should you do to prepare to shut them off because of the fact that they were exploding in Volcanoville?
Especially if you evacuate, what's the best way to do it?
Okay, hold on.
That's a good question. So you're right, you would want to shut the propane off